It's the late 2000s. Halo has just ended its original trilogy. We finished the fight, everyone. Bungie was wrapping up their time on the franchise, ready to begin a great journey of their own with Activision. Microsoft was left with a pretty fat golden goose. Conversing amongst themselves, they thought, you know the Animatrix? Yeah, let's do that. And so Halo Legends was born. The idea was simple. Let's contact a group of Japanese studios and work with them to adapt new takes on the franchise. Since this was a compilation of different shorts, each short needs to be looked at separately. Why not? Let's rank them too in terms of entertainment value. We'll use a 10-point system just to be simple, okay? Alright. Origins Part 1 and 2, also known as the source of any Halo lore video you've ever watched on YouTube. Origins begins with Cortana sitting alone after the events of Halo 3, waiting for Chief to wake up. But in the meantime, she begins lore dumping to herself, retelling the history of how the Forerunners fell, or at least the history before it was retconned. And as a lore nerd, I have always loved this short. The art style is relatively simplistic, looking like an animated comic book, but I think it really works in showing off these clean technological landscapes. Origins 1 feels foreign and distant, and seeing these cities, it made me realize we've never actually seen any Forerunner cities depicted in the games. Forerunner architecture is always depicted in big set pieces, surrounded by wilderness. So to see an actual city of Forerunners during their height, it was something to behold. We see Forerunners in armor fighting against the Flood, which it was probably for budget, but I don't know, maybe you shouldn't have just 5 guys fighting against a whole horde. Forerunners lose. In their last effort, they send the rings out across the galaxy. There's this great sequence showing all the Covenant races in their ancient civilizations. I get that it was for visual sake, but if this was really where the rings were set, I don't think the Covenant would have spent a while looking for the sacred artifacts.
And see how our faith has been rewarded.
Hey elites, there's one right outside your home planet. Overall, it's a beautiful and concise summary of some real deep Halo lore. And so we get to Part 2. Don't worry, I'm not going to go into too much detail with this one. Part 2 is pretty much just a summary of the rise of the UNSC, the insurrection, and how humans came together to fight the Covenant. You didn't have to cut me off. Everything seems to be going pretty by the books, up until, well, the Flood show up. For some reason, when faced with the Flood, the humans and the Covenant teamed up to defeat it. Not humans and elites like in Halo 3. The entire Covenant and humanity ally against the Flood. Where the hell did that come from? Upon thinking about it, I thought it was an interesting alternate ending to the whole trilogy. And we do get some fantastic montages of the UNSC fighting alongside the Covenant. But I was still puzzled. Where did this come from? This short came out years after Halo 3, so it's not like it was some draft idea that was scrapped. Looking online, people at the time, and even today, were all equally stumped. Most chalked it up to Cortana not seeing the events past Halo 2 and making up the history, I guess. Or perhaps her rampancy was making her an unreliable narrator. Well, guess what? I found out what it was. On the developer commentary for Halo Legends by Frank O'Connor and Joseph Chu, they explained it all, saying that this whole sequence was not a retelling of the past, but a hint at the future. And this whole ending, teasing the Flood coming back and Cortana's rampancy, were all hints at the future of the franchise. And I guess one idea they were originally planning on was at some point humanity and the Covenant would ally against a common enemy.
Zombies.
So, 8 out of 10. Good job. Don't throw me that curveball next time. The Duel is a samurai short, but with elites. On paper, that's the coolest idea ever. In execution, it's less so.
I'll never leave you, I'm your wife.
Animated by Production IG, the studio behind Ghost in the Shell and Attack on Titan, Junior High, the duel takes place on the elite homeworld of Sanghelios after the birth of the Covenant. Elite society is reimagined to be pretty much just feudal Japan. Elites wear kimonos, there are elites that look like this. The duel revolves around the original Arbiter, one who didn't believe in the Great Journey. In response, the prophets put a hit out on him, and he has to fight for survival, taking on swarms of enemies all by himself. All he wanted to do was live a simple life with his wife. And his wife, looks like that apparently. This is like the difference between orcs and female orcs. Alas, it was all for nothing. The samurai elites are led to his house, he gets betrayed by his buddy, who is forced to kill his very human-like waifu. With nothing left to live for, the Arbiter fights a 1v1 with Samurai Elite, and they both die in a single strike. Very poetic, very cool. The end. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, the art style. In some moments, the duel can look like a beautiful painting of a lost age, but for like 90% of the rest of the short, what even is happening? Where do some characters end and others begin? I get it's supposed to be a painting, but it's like somebody spilled over it with water. Whoops! I would have really loved to see the style reaching its truest potential, but technology and time have not really been kind to it. It can still look great, don't get me wrong, but there are so many moments where things just could have been a little bit clearer. Okay, now that all of that's out of the way, I still like the duel. I think it does a good job at showing how the Arbiter was once this great title for the elites, and the prophets used it as a mark of shame to keep the elites in line. It's a great premise, and takes place during a very interesting part of Halo lore. You know, basically any old samurai film in a nutshell. Could have done better, 7 out of 10.
Ralph.
Homecoming was produced by B-Train, who was an animation studio that went defunct in 2012. According to Wikipedia, they were once a favorite of the Yuri community, which is another way of saying lesbians. They were big with lesbians. It tells the story of a Spartan girl, Daisy, stuck in the middle of a Covenant attack.
Hi, I'm Daisy!
The planet is basically destroyed and all hope is lost. She gets on comms and the guy on the other line is literally telling her to get to the extraction point, but Daisy cuts him off.
Wait a sec.
What?
I know that voice.
Talk all that shit, and in the end you got your fucking ass beat, so shut the fuck up, stupid.
Because apparently they have a history together. The entire short cuts between flashbacks of her life becoming a Spartan, being kidnapped, being put through training. You know the gist. You know the Halo. And the far more interesting part is just the combat. You see, in her past, she escaped from the program, attempting to rejoin civilian life. However, she finds out that she has a clone that replaced her. For context, when kids were kidnapped for the Spartan program, they were replaced with clones that basically wither away and die of natural causes. Anyway, Daisy doesn't kill her clone, and her clone is like, "Gee, thanks for not blowing my brains out. Here, have this trinket that you've had since you were a child, but dropped when you were kidnapped by the feds. I've had it this whole time because I replaced you. It's like a symbol of your childhood innocence. Don't you get it? Don't you get that it's your childhood? Don't you just want to spend money for this little trinket on the Halo Infinite store for 500 Spartan fun bucks?" But Daisy liked the customization of Halo 3 more and shot her on the spot. See? She's dead now. Actually, just kidding. Daisy rejoined the Spartan program, and Halsey just killed the clones anyway. Whoops. So the short ends with Daisy trying to meet up with Radio Boyfriend, but before she gets the chance, she gets shot by like 3 needler rounds. Which in that case, why do Spartans even wear armor anyway? Seems a little ineffective. Could have at least given her the cat treatment if she was gonna die so quick. Master Chief shows up to look at Daisy's corpse and thinks, damn, it really be like that. Ah, hey, a new bear charm. 4 out of 10, not my cup of tea.
We got 3 minutes.
Let's sprint this. Don't fall behind. Copy that.
The The Package is a CG animated short produced by Square Enix for the 2001 film Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within. Okay, joking. It was from a studio called Casio Entertainment, who actually did make a Final Fantasy movie. Every time I watch The Package, the more I begin to actually like it. And I think it's because it's just so beautiful. The Package is about a group of Spartans, including the old John 11-7, being tasked to retrieve a package from a Covenant ship. I guess it was the holiday season and Amazon was being really slow. All the Spartans strap into motorcycle X-Wing things.
Now this is pod racing.
And take to the center of the Covenant fleet. The entire short is basically just them getting picked off one by one until only Chief remains. The Covenant blow up their own ship just to take out a single Spartan. Which I guess, that's a cooler way to go than 3 needler shots to the chest. With Chief the only one surviving, he goes and uncovers what this package really was. Wow, it's Catherine Halsey, the creator of the Spartan 2 project, and everyone's favorite war criminal. Why does she look like Zero Suit Samus? So here's the thing, I don't know if I genuinely enjoy this, or if it's just an ironic sort of way. First off, the actual animation. It just reminds me of Red vs. Blue. It has the energy of a Monty fight, and I'm all here for it. So that's about 60% of the enjoyment here. I don't know if you could pick up on this by now, but yeah, Halsey's a bit too young, which isn't that bad in itself, but then they just had to add this strange, flirtatious dynamic between her and the Chief.
We make our own luck. But I'll always be there when you need
Don't
me.
make a girl a promise if you know you can't keep it. Still, thank you.
Sure.
Jesus Christ.
Which, if you know anything about the Halo backstory, that is horrifying. Halsey is like a mom to all the Spartan 2s.
Mom.
What have you done with my armor?
She kidnapped them to train as super soldiers to be the ultimate jackboot, but she was still the closest to a mom that any of them got. Yet, if you never knew anything about Halo, you would just think she was his hot scientist girlfriend, which is ridiculous. Master Chief's girlfriend is actually Cortana, the AI lady that was created by Halsey based off a young hot version of herself who got really attached to Chief. It's actually kind of messed up when you think about it, huh? And kind of just fell in love with his Oedipus Alexa. Good luck playing Halo Infinite now, gamers.
Game over.
Prototype was a short developed by Studio Bones, the same studio behind this, and this. So you already know it's gonna look pretty nice. Prototype is about a group of Marines held down by the Covenant as their planet is overrun. Their commander, Ghost, got that nickname because his last platoon was wiped out under his watch. Or it was because he didn't care when they got wiped out.
Feelings pass right through you, don't they? So cold and unforgiving in every choice you made in battle.
They aren't really ever clear how he got his nickname.
They got wiped out in a single firefight. Sarge didn't even flinch.
Yeah, well, I guess that's why they call him the Ghost then, isn't it?
So I guess he's called Ghost because his platoon died, and people think he wasn't sad enough. Anyway, Ghost shows up in the power suit he was supposed to destroy and starts mowing down the Covenant. He says he won't leave his men behind again. Time for another flashback.
Their platoon. Every one of my men. And that's when it happened. That's when I truly became a ghost. Just a shadow. Surrounded by death.
Did he start saying that to people or something? I don't care that he called himself Ghost. Just have a consistent reason why he's called Ghost. Is it a negative nickname given to him by others, or is it a name he gave himself? Which is it? He keeps fighting, and he keeps having Vietnam flashbacks in the background, to when his female squad mate was alive, and she said that he was already cold. So like, was he already cold before everyone died, or was his coldness how everyone got killed? So that's a third reason for his nickname. because he doesn't have feelings. He's not human enough, which I don't know what that has to do with battle against genocidal aliens, but, you know, okay. Turns out the code word to blow up his prototype suit is be human. Get it? It's the theme. And he sacrifices himself so his men can live. Hooray. I heard a lot of good things about this short, but while it's top-notch animation, and I love Studio Bones, the story just made me irrationally angry for some reason, and it's all just because they never solidified what ghost means. So, 7 out of 10. The Babysitter was from Studio 4C, same studio as Origins 1 and 2. It tells the story of a group of ODSTs tasked with escorting a Spartan on a sniper mission to take out a Prophet. It explores the deep rivalry between ODSTs and Spartans.
I'm not crippled! Put me down!
Or at least how ODSTs view Spartans as an other. It's like if the Navy SEALs got outclassed by cyborgs. Over the course of the short, the Spartan proves himself time and time again as an important ally, winning over most along the way. Everyone except for this guy. Despite the fact he's the one that messes up most of the time and the Spartan cleans up after him, he still won't budge. That is, until the last minute, when the Spartan is punched by a rogue brute, takes off his helmet, and uh-oh, it's a girl. Is that Metroid? Also, I find it funny that the girl has comedically long hair like a princess. Like, how did she even see in that thing? She says he has to take the shot, and so he does, and the Prophet goes down.
So, you must be silenced.
In the end, the ODSTs learn to respect the Spartans, and whenever someone insults them at lunch, they punch him in the face. So really, I have no complaints about this one. 9 out of 10.
Oh, I know what the ladies like.
But still, I am a little worried.
Yeah.
Come back! Don't leave me behind!
Odd One Out is a comedic short animated by Toei. You know, same studio behind Dragon Ball and One Piece. I mean, I don't know if you could tell. It really is a tragedy that Toei has to be such a terrible company, because this is actually my favorite of the shorts, just flat out. It doesn't take itself seriously.
I did it!
Odd One Out begins with
Spartan! 1337.
Falling out of a pelican and crash landing on an unknown planet. Nobody really seems concerned with this. Apparently this just happens to him a lot. Abandoned because nobody cared to just circle back around, 1337 puts his Spartan training to the test. But then some cave children show up with their pet dinosaur and he's tossed around like a ragdoll. Meanwhile, at Covenant Land, the Prophets decide to deal with Master Chief once and for all. They decide to send their greatest fighter, roided up Brute. His muscles are big and his brain is small. The Brute gets sent to the planet to fight Master Chief and coincidentally runs into 1337. I guess all Spartans just look the same. 1337 teams up with some teenagers who live on the planet.
I'm one heck of a mama myself!
And together they all shonen fight, powers and all, against the Super Saiyan Brute. I like all the small uses of Halo equipment, utilized just like they're some sort of special ability. In the end, the kid's mama turns out to be a lost AI living in a downed ship. She wakes up and blasts the Brute right out into space. All is safe. 1337, with the battle won, he's carried off by a pterodactyl, never to be seen again. The end. This was the best one. 10 out of 10.